All right, so let's take a little walk through some change of direction anchors and how we set those up. So for this setup here, I've got a big giant bomber anchor up there out of sight that I want to use. My working up area up there is great, but my direction of pull is somewhere in here. And so I need to bring that rope into line, into that direction of pull. This direction of pull down here. And so generally what I'll do is look at this line here and this line here and find out where those two meet, which is roughly here, and then try and find something that bisects that angle close enough. Luckily I have this big giant tree right here, imagine that. And so I will I've already got a basket on this tree, and I'll take this rope and put it into this anchor, nice and close, tight to this tree. Change direction anchors tend to be fairly easy when we're really close to our change direction anchor point there. So I'm really close here, and then if I get this all lined up right, then my direction of pull turns into something like this, which brings me right in about line where I want to be, which gives me my working area up top, but uses this second tree as a change direction where I don't have as good a working area. This angle here is fairly wide. We can say that's at least 120, and so at least 120, I'm not worried about this needing to be any stronger than the rope for sure. Yeah. I've got a pulley here. We can use a pulley on a change of direction. We like that if the actual operational rope is going through here. If the rigging rope is going through here, my focal point's on this side of it, then it doesn't really matter. Either or works just fine. We can look at a slightly more challenging change direction anchor, which involves extending away from the tree a little bit. So if I'm going to use that same big anchor up top, but I change my direction of pull, my fall line, to something down here, then we can see that this still isn't in line with my main anchor. So I need to bring it into line with a change direction. Same kind of process. I can at least roughly visualize my angles here and say I need something roughly in that bisects this angle here. And luckily, again, my tree works out just right, but I do have to extend away from it a ways, which is kind of one of the challenging parts for people. And so I'm gonna have to do my best to get this length right. And we end up having to retie these a couple of times, and that's okay. So I'll bring a piece of rigging rope out here and put a pulley on here, and then see if I can attach this to my anchor in such a way that I get this in the right spot. Great, so that's all set up and ready to go, and I'll come back down and see if my direction of pull is gonna be okay. Oh, and of course, I've tied this a little long, and so this hasn't resolved quite where I want it to be. And as I pull on this, it kind of is out where I didn't want it to be and doesn't quite bring me into a line. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back and shorten this a little bit and see if I can get it a little closer to what I was visualizing. There are, of course, other ways to do this to get the length just right. There's a bunch of ways we can make this adjustable. And then if I have a second person, they can pull on this while I adjust from the anchor. But the simplest way here is just to retie this 2 or 3 times until I get it about right. Great, and if I give that a good force, that'll resolve. And that sits about right where I want it to sit. All right, so I only had to tie it twice. I think we're about right there. I'll come up and check this angle, which I assume is going to be bigger. And yeah, that angle looks even bigger than the last one, probably 150 even. So not worried about extra multiplying forces on that anchor. And I can use this as my change of direction.